Hey, good morning. Today is Tuesday, June the 18th, 2024. The time now is 7:45 a.m. So I am obviously late to the conversation, and this is because I have been dealing with other issues, or basically I was stranded because of scheduling conflict. Yeah, so I just want to stress that. But I do acknowledge that I am late to the conversation. However, I basically want to offer my perspective or my opinion, if you will, on the matter pertaining to the ICC application for an arrest warrant against Hamas's leaders and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other members of the Israeli government. Once again, let me stress that for clarification purposes. Recently, about a few weeks ago, the ICC prosecutor Karim A basically submitted an application for an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and leaders of Hamas for war crimes, basically stating that Hamas's violation or Hamas's attack on Israel on the 7th of October last year, 2023, which basically led to Israelis being taken away as hostages, and there were lots of terrible things that happened to them, whether you are talking about rape, murder, or so on. So basically, this is the news that we are used to, we've heard since October 7, 2023. Now, on the part of Netanyahu and members of the government of Israel, they are being accused of crimes against humanity, genocide, or whatever. Now, I don't know what your opinion is to the matter. I don't know which side you are on. But I want to stress that I am an African, okay? I was born in Africa. And I was born to a people and to a continent or a country where we are used to our leaders. I don't care about the crimes that they are committing, okay? Whether the crimes are true or false. Because when it pertains to Africa, there are lots of accusations and suppositions that are often put forth. But in terms of the international justice system, it is only Africans and other people of color, yes, with the exception of about few Eastern European countries whose leaders were arrested and prosecuted for war crimes. However, when it comes to the international justice system, it is oftentimes Africans who are arrested and prosecuted for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Meanwhile, white men, especially those from countries that are powerful, are committing war crimes, or they had committed war crimes, or continue to commit war crimes, violate the international justice or the international rules or laws, and get away with it. Okay? So as a person from Africa or the Global South, I think we are in a very unfair world. Recently, I made a video or a program where I talked about a Nigerian colleague of mine who basically stressed to me that we are in an apartheid world where if we say or do things that others may not like, what happened to us is that we get canceled, we get isolated, especially those of us who will identify as people of color. So I just want to stress that. Now, if freedom is indeed freedom, it doesn't matter who is accused arrested and prosecuted. If they are found guilty, we must carry out the law fairly. So in this case, if we are in a true international system, that is indeed an international system for the sake of humanity, that is free and fair of any manipulation, especially by the rich and powerful countries, then therefore we must continue to carry out justice free and fairly, okay, for the sake of humanity, without being biased in any way. So in this case, if the international justice system has substantial evidence that Hamas's leaders and Benjamin Netanyahu and others in the Israeli government commit war crimes or crimes against humanity, then with all fairness, they must be arrested and prosecuted. If we are going to say that we are in a fair world free of manipulation, we are in a fair world where justice must be carried out freely and fairly. So I just want to stress that if we have a free and fair and honest international justice system that indeed find Hamas's leaders and Benjamin Netanyahu or members of the Israeli government, okay, guilty of war crime, then they must be dealt with accordingly. And I'm saying that to every man, every group of people in the world, whether they are democratic or not, as much as they carry out activities that can be categorized and proven as a violation of international law or as a crime against humanity or whatsoever. We cannot and should not have a legal and international justice system where others can commit war crimes or crimes against humanity and get away with it, and the weak and powerless, especially the Africans and others around the world who identify as people of color, can only be the ones who are arrested and prosecuted. Now, in terms of the matter pertaining to Hamas or Hamas's leader and Benjamin Netanyahu and leaders of the Israeli government, for Hamas's leader, they are a different case in that we are in a world and we do have an international system, an international legal system that is very much as some people will scream freedom and justice and all sorts of nonsense, fairness, equality, it is oftentimes power that counts, because we are seeing that the weak and powerless are persecuted and the strong and powerful are not prosecuted. And in this case, whether Hamas is a terrorist or not, whether you believe in Hamas being a terrorist or not, and there are countries in the world, especially in the global north or in the west, that have already termed or declared groups such as Hamas as terrorists. And I do believe it doesn't matter, okay, between now to the end of times. If the opportunity comes, they will arrest Hamas's leaders and persecute them. Hamas's leaders will be hunted to the end of days. I must stress that. Now, in terms of people like Netanyahu and other members of the Israeli government who the ICC is hinting to want to arrest and prosecute, I am going to stress right now that such thing is not going to happen. The ICC is not going to go after Benjamin Netanyahu and members of Israel's government. One being, as I stressed earlier, despite the fact that people, institutions, and countries are stressing the notion of equality and fairness and justice, power counts. Power makes the difference. Israel, on the international stage, is a powerful country, especially dealing with the fact that Israel has powerful friends in the world. We are talking about the United States, Europe, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and so on. So, once again, the ICC prosecutor, Karim A, and the ICC, okay, yes, Karim Khan's office may submit an arrest warrant for the arrest of Hamas's leaders and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and members of the Israeli government. However, I do believe, honestly, that this application process or the attempted arrest will not come into fruition. And the reason why is because Israel does have powerful countries behind her. As long as the United States is the world superpower and remain powerful, as long as there is a strong conviction within the United States government to protect Israel at all costs, and we are seeing the same thing in Europe, okay? Whether we are talking about the general European Parliament or in the various European countries, from France to the UK to Italy to Germany to Austria to Portugal, if you will, okay? We are talking about strong conviction to protect Israel or the lack of willingness to go against or to go after Israel. As long as that remains the case, nobody is going to go after Benjamin Netanyahu or members of the Israeli government. That is because of the, I do believe also, because of the history of Israel, the way the Jewish people were treated in Europe. I do believe there is a strong stigma within European parliament, the European government, okay, or the ruling and celebrity class, to not repeat what was done to Israel in Germany, in Europe, okay, during World War II or the past, and also to protect Israel. There is also a stigma, I do believe, with the whole notion of anti-Semitism in the West. Okay, we are talking about the White West or the global North, as they say. So, in this case, I do believe it is not going to materialize. It's similar in many ways to the call by many in the West when Vladimir Putin, Russia, invaded Ukraine, and up to this day, there are many who are calling for the arrest of Vladimir Putin. And once again, in this case, as much as many may scream about freedom and justice and all that nonsense, power makes the difference. I remember last year when South Africa basically got bombarded with criticism, and the South African government was criticized harshly that it protects, okay, Vladimir Putin, that it has an obligation to arrest Vladimir Putin. And there are many who are calling for the South African government to arrest Vladimir Putin. And I kind of laugh because, one, as much as the United States, okay, or the most powerful country, okay, in the world, as much as many in America will talk about Putin must be arrested, why can't the United States itself say, we are going to go after Vladimir Putin? Because the truth here is, the United States know that Russia is not any weak country to be bossed around, okay? The United States is not going to go after Vladimir Putin because Putin is a powerful leader and Russia is a powerful country. At least in the past year, it is basically emerging again as a superpower. Arrest warrant only works for the poor and weak countries. So, as much as the ICC is not going to go after Vladimir Putin because nobody have the strength, the might, or the willingness to sustain the bombardment that Russia will bring to them as a result of them going after a Russian leader, nobody will have the same willingness or conviction to go after Benjamin Netanyahu because the United States and its allies will protect Israel at all costs. In terms of the protection of Israel, I do believe it is going to happen for two reasons. One being that Israel has powerful countries behind her. Israel has powerful friends. Two being association, guilt or guilty by association. Okay? This means that there is going to be a stigma if Benjamin Netanyahu is arrested, persecuted, and also found guilty. It is going to be stigmatizing for the West. Now, why is that the case? If the application for an arrest warrant against Benjamin Netanyahu, a member of his government, goes through and he is arrested, if he is arrested, let's say he is persecuted. Let's say that a Benjamin Netanyahu who is arrested and persecuted and found guilty, okay, becomes the reality. Benjamin Netanyahu being arrested and persecuted and found guilty means that Israel is guilty of war crimes, or however. And if Israel is guilty of war crimes, it means that Israel was enabled to commit the war crimes. And if Israel was enabled to commit the war crimes, who are the enablers? Then in this case, we are talking about the governments and leaders of countries such as the United States, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, and the rest of the White West, Australia, Canada, and the rest of the White West, European countries. With the fact that we are in a world that is agitating continuously, many in the world are calling for fairness and equality and unbiased, and calling that the West must be subjugated to the same treatment that it subjugates the rest of the world. In this case, if Benjamin Netanyahu was arrested and persecuted and found guilty, which will then means that Israel is guilty, which means that Israel was enabled by the West, it is going to blow the whole situation out of proportion, and also fairly so, which then means that it is going to ignite questions and discussions for Western leaders to be arrested and subjugated to persecutions and imprisonment as well. This is going to be bad. But also, I do believe if it doesn't go through, it is going to make a mockery out of the international system, the international justice system, which is already happening. We have Western countries and leaders, and even Israeli leaders, basically throwing stones at the ICC and the whole international criminal or the international justice systems, which was basically put in place by the same Western governments, okay, was championed by the same Western governments, which now throwing stones at the ICC. An international system which was put in place also as a result of what happened during the Holocaust, World War II, as a means to not repeat what happened to the Jewish people during those days. So we are in a very tricky but terrible situation as an international community, because on the one hand, if Benjamin Netanyahu is persecuted, it is going to create a problem. If he doesn't get persecuted, it is likewise going to create a problem. So then, what should we do then? Should we then break up the whole international criminal system, the international justice system? Now, I hope you can tell me what you think. As much as many, okay, and as much as it is not going to come into fruition for the ICC to go after Benjamin Netanyahu, I do believe they, okay, the ICC, pushed by the West, is going to go after Hamas's leaders. So the situation in which we as a global community find ourselves is very serious, because what we are seeing is a demonstration of Western countries, okay, basically enacting self-preservation, okay? So I do believe that, once again, and I know that I've repeated this many times, okay, during the course of this video or program, that the ICC arrest warrant application is not going to go through because the United States and the West will not back such application. Russia is bogged down in the situation, okay, with Ukraine. China is basically trying to galvanize international support, and potentially China is preparing itself for a war, potential war against or with the West, okay, over Taiwan. Because from what is happening right now is the West is bogged down in Ukraine. The West is bogged down in Ukraine, a war which is turning out to be a Russian victory, okay? The West is not going to win in Ukraine. So it seems now as if the West, as soon as possible, wants to end the situation in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, so that it can then go after China. Of course, the West wants to end the war in Ukraine with a Ukraine or Western victory over Russia and Vladimir Putin. Now, I don't know how that is possible. However, we just need, as a global community, to sit and wait, but to hopefully galvanize ourselves, okay, in that we can diplomatically end the situation in Ukraine and around the world and preventing an all-out international chaos that could engulf the world into another world war, which many are talking about around the world as if it is taking candy from a baby. Now, in terms of the situation, okay, with Israel, and I'm talking about Karim A, that's the ICC persecutor, filing an arrest warrant application for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and members of the Israeli government and Hamas's leadership. I do believe the West will do whatever they can to go after Hamas's leadership, but will prevent any possibility, any attempt to go after Israel. And one of the reasons I basically state that no one is going to go after Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel is because the West is still strong and powerful compared to the rest of the world. So it has the financial and the military muscle to basically enforce its will on the rest of the poor, powerless world. But I also do believe that what we are seeing from the West is self-preservation. Leaders in the West are now scrambling to protect themselves, their reputations, and their country's reputation. And this is one of the reasons why they are going to protect Israel at all costs and prevent a possible arrest warrant against Netanyahu, which if Netanyahu is arrested, that alone, the image of a Netanyahu in handcuff being arrested symbolically will be a blow to the West. Because when this happens, it is now going to mean that any leadership, any president, any prime minister in the West, in the conceptual West, the white West, whether we are talking about the Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, okay, will be possible. Now, an arrest warrant against an American president could end the rest of the world. The Americans are not going to go down the route of having their president, okay, or their top members being arrested by an ICC, okay? However, just the image of an arrested Netanyahu, psychologically and symbolically, is going to be a blow to the West. They do not want that because it also could ignite a debate, a discussion, international discussion, and a call for members of the West, the conceptual West, to basically be arrested, persecuted, potentially thrown in jail as well. But I'm going to stop here. Please tell me what you think and how I can improve my system. Join the conversation, share the link, and thank you very much for watching the echoing voice. Peace.